Brave Business Conversations, Unividual, New Year's resolutions. What are the challenges? Did you guys even bother setting New Year's resolutions this year?
I'm starting mine on Blue Monday because genuinely, because I'm thinking everyone is fixed on setting New Year's resolutions, and then we all go back to work and we're like, this is awful. Like, how do we cope? And you say, yeah, I'm not going to eat chocolate, whatever you're going to do. And before you know it, you've got your Mars bar in your mouth. So I decided that I was just going to focus on getting back to work, chilling into the year, and then I was going to start my New Year's resolutions from Blue Monday onwards.
Oh, that's cool. I think the best way to make your New Year's resolution last the whole year till the end of the year is just set it on December 30th.
Yeah, you could try.
There we go. You only have one day to go, and before you know it,
you could do that. Yeah.
How about you, Simon? What's your New Year's resolution?
I don't know if I made it an official resolution, but I'm keen to read more. It's something that at the end of the day, it gets neglected. So I'm very keen to read more, but also I think reflect more frequently as well. It's something that Sherry-Ann and I have talked about quite frequently. Just kind of have that time in the day where you look back on your day and see how it went, the highs, the lows, and how you can improve.
Reflection is quite an important part of New Year's resolutions and goal setting, I think. So a lot of people set a New Year's resolution every year. They might say, I'm going to lose weight or I'm going to start running. And they don't keep it. But then they set the same one every year and they just don't think about, why didn't I keep it? And is it the right goal for me to have? And if it is, how am I going to put the processes in place to actually keep this working towards this goal?
Exactly. When I reflect on why I break New Year's resolutions, goals, anything, it's because I set it too long. I set it for too much of a long-term thing. Like, even if or it's results orientated, like I want to lose X kilos and stuff like that, and I think setting it as a result actually demotivates me, but actually for me this year, it's to create a new lifestyle. I don't even call it a resolution. I just say I want to create a new lifestyle where I exercise more regularly. And in the process, if I lose weight, if I thin down and everything, hey, that's just the process, but I just want to focus on the daily activities. And so far, it's easier to reward myself every day for doing the daily activity rather than waiting until I'm X kilo and then I reward myself.
And also, I think, it's shifting the focus, not from weight loss, but how you feel afterwards. Because, that's often, they say, you never regret a workout. And actually, if you can focus on how you feel afterwards, rather than, I must stand on the scales every Friday and be X pounds. Actually, and I think that's a really valid point in terms of, if you always focus on the outcome, once you don't achieve that outcome, that's often when people give up and they just say, oh, well, that's me done. I've broken my New Year's resolution. But actually making it more lifestyle is more achievable.
They say the balance between long-term and short-term goals is really key as well, because a lot of people can be working on a daily basis towards something quite wishy-washy and not actually get anywhere. So you do need the long-term vision and motivation, but it needs to be something that's up in a cloud that you're working towards, with then the focused stepping stones along the way. So an example of that, sometimes we do meet with clients who save money every month, and they've then got cash in their bank, which means their money is actually going down, and they don't know what that cash is for and what they're working towards. So then they haven't got the motivation and foresight to do something with it to then put it to good use. So it's definitely balancing the short and the long-term goals.
Exactly. Like for me, on a financial point of view, again, this is thanks to reflection about setting a goal of how much money I want to have. Actually didn't work for me.
No.
It is more about, I want every single piece of money that is not being used or not needed, so anything that's above and beyond
like
what I have, surplus, needs to be working for me. So that means I need to understand what's the surplus. So that means I need to do like my quarterly or whatever reports. I need to know where my money is at any given time. And then like if it's surplus, who do I give it to manage it, to make it grow? So I need to know that as well. So it's all about building the habits of building networks and understanding and maybe reading about things. Actually, interviewing you guys have been great. I didn't have to read thing.
Think
And I'm
about
so
how much you've
smarter now.
learned
I am
in,
so much
because it's been
smarter now.
I think we've done 10 or 11 of these now, haven't we?
Yeah, and actually, thanks to some of your interviews, I think it was you and Greg at one point, Simon. That week, I started contributing to my state pension.
Good.
Yeah,
well,
absolutely.
if we've achieved one thing from that, then that's that's
Yes,
worth
you've
our
converted
time.
the host.
So, yeah.
That's right. So when you talk to people, presumably people talk to you about their financial New Year's resolutions, right? Or you've worked with people to trying to achieve something. What are some of the common challenges they have to keep that discipline?
I think trying to take on too much, both in the sort of general resolutions but also specific financially. So you'll often hear people say, well, okay, so what I want to do is I want to sort my finances out, I want to lose X number of pounds, I want to learn the guitar, all of these things. So if you try and take on too much, so it's really important about making them sort of
palatable.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you have this stressful to-do list to achieve this.
And
you're like, I hate myself.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's about creating achiever's mindset. So if you can take one thing that you're going to focus on for January, and that might be that you're going to try meditation and just do it for a month, or you're going to read more, or you're going to start jogging. And if you can just focus on that one thing, you can then make the time and move your time around to accommodate the processes that you need to achieve that. That then becomes something that's habitual and you do without thinking. So it doesn't require any emotional motivation or getting over it. And then you can say in February, okay, now I'm going to learn to play guitar. And then that becomes part of your weekly habit and rituals of what you're doing. And it's, we talk a lot about the book Atomic Habits, and you were talking this morning about habit stacking.
Yep, that's right.
And that's a similar concept.
So when you take something that you like doing and you put something that you need to do alongside it. So, let's say, if you want to read more news, you say, right, when I have my morning coffee, which is the thing you like doing, I'm going to read the daily headlines. Another thing that you do quite a lot, Sherry-Ann, is the tracking of the habits, isn't it?
Yeah.
So if you look at your week, 1 week at a time, you say, well, I would like to do these things on these days, and then when you do them, you cross them off, and then you move that on another week, and you say, well, I achieved it last week, so therefore I want to do something similar next week.
Exactly.
Measuring what you're doing.
Habit tracking is quite. People used to talk about it and used to think, I'm not doing that. That sounds ridiculous. Sitting down at the end of the day and marking off whether I have or haven't done something. But what I tried it, and what it made me realise is that sometimes my brain thinks it's done things when it hasn't.
Yeah.
And when I put a little dot next to the box that says, yes, today I've cooked my own food, so I've been healthy. I almost, when you were a kid and your parent would put a little star on the fridge or a little
I mean, when I was a kid.
Yeah, we still are
now.
Kids. Yeah, it's almost that
Get
feeling
a WhatsApp
of
star every single day from my mum.
Exactly, especially on social media anyway. But it's almost that feeling of well done, like you've achieved that habit that you set out to do today. And I started off with one habit. I'm now up to 4 or 5 that I track in one go.
That's amazing. And there's an app called the Habit
Yes,
Tracker.
there is. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
it
just
is
quite old
satisfying.
school, and I like paper.
Yeah.
No, I love it. Like different color paper thing, and then you check mark. I think it's the most satisfying thing to put a tick on one of the things you said you're going to do today.
Yeah.
We'll have more conversations with Unividual about New Year's resolutions after this. Welcome back to Brave Business Conversations. We're still talking about New Year's resolutions and our commitment to making it all happen by the end of this year. Yeah, and how good we are at keeping our commitments.
Yes.
Have you ever successfully
Yeah.
done a New Year's resolution?
I have
in your life?
actually,
Yeah?
because over when you get a bit older, you sort of reflect a bit and you realise that New Year's resolutions can be a bit of a societal pressure.
Yeah.
Everyone's saying, "Oh, what's your New Year's resolution?" Even if you haven't got one, you sort of end up making one up on the spot because it feels like everyone should have one. But 2 years ago, I decided I was going to learn to play the piano. And behind that thought was that I was struggling a bit with anxiety, and I had a lot going on in my business, and I wanted to learn how to be able to switch off and not think all the time. So I thought, I used to play music at school, and I've always wanted to play the piano. So I decided to go out and buy a second-hand piano, and I started having lessons. And 2 years down the line, I'm now learning a grade 8 piece, Claire de Lune. I've got a teacher up in Bath that's absolutely incredible. And that's been going on now for over 2 years.
What do you put down as the
I was
reason
just
behind
gonna
that
say.
success?
I think it's some people go out there and say, I want to learn piano. That wasn't necessarily my goal. My goal was I want to have a hobby that will allow me to relax after work, that I can really sort of zen out in. And when you play piano, you can't think at the same time. So it was having a hobby where it wasn't meditation or going for a run where you can still think. You literally can't. So I think understanding the real reason behind your goals is really important, because there were times where I would find it difficult to sit down and practice after work. And my brain was going, no, you need to be doing this work. You need to be putting stuff out on social media. You need to be, getting another project on board to get more clients for the new advisors coming through. And it's like, no, because if I don't practice, I've got my lesson tomorrow and I've spent 40, 50 quid on that lesson and I need to get the most out of it. So I would say discipline and then understanding the real motivations behind what you're doing.
I like that. Yeah, it's not I want to learn a piano. It's I want to have a hobby that I can enjoy. Yeah. How about you, Simon?
I'm sorry to say I don't think I've ever stuck to a New Year's resolution. But I think this new habit tracking that Sherry Ann's got me onto, I've got a good feeling about this year, certainly with the reading. And also I think with habits, your environment can be quite important as well. So I was talking to a client this morning about reading, and she has to read both for her work but also for pleasure. And what she does is she has an office, and there's a seat in the office, and that's where she reads work-related books, and the pleasure books are in her own sort of safe space. So I think for me that's an important thing, tracking it and also being in the right environment.
Being in the right environment. In NLP we call that anchoring certain things
of course,
into different habits. Yeah. For me, I think it was, again, I agree with you, Sherry, it's the reason behind the change that I focus on. For me, it was like to have more fun. So I'm working really hard and I couldn't switch off. So it's all about fun. I only want to do stuff that's fun. Yeah. And if it stops being fun, I stop it. And it's not because I'm lazy and I just want to do fun things. I trust myself that I'm quite responsible, but it's also being that overly responsible thing that got me burnt out. So even now, starting my shop and everything like that, we're starting at 2 new shops or 1 new shop in Brock Street, and that is fun. And if it's not fun, I'm not going to get into it. Now, having said that, once it's done, you got to bear the ups and downs. But being able to say, I can enjoy even doing business. It has to be fun.
Yeah, I think that's really important.
Yeah, it's interesting because just not to keep harping on about it, but the book Atomic Habits by James Clear, it talks about if you want to keep a good habit, you have to make it attractive, and if you want to lose a bad habit, you need to make it unattractive. So the classic is if you find yourself eating those things that you possibly shouldn't be late at night, if you don't buy them in the shop, therefore they're not in the house, you would have to go to an extra effort to get those things like that.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not going to lie, there has been times that I've walked in the rain to the shop at midnight to get a big bag of crisps. And food's an interesting one because if you struggle with food, like I do, I think we all have our vices, and that is one for me. Again, it's understanding the mentality behind that, so why you're doing that. And I think over the last couple of years, I've just really learned a lot about myself. One of my New Year's resolutions a while ago was to read more and to reflect more, and that and then the piano, like all of this is part of my life now. So then it's building on those year on year, and I think to have like one thing that you're going to focus on in a year is enough, because you're either running a business, you've got a family, you're looking after people. It's too much to take on specific goals. Instead, to have a focus area, like I want to have more fun in my life, you might have a series of weekends where you haven't done much and you think, well, this is not in line with what my goal was for the year. And that can be your focus. And then next year, you'll do that automatically. You will always be fun. It'll just be a natural thing that you do. And you can then focus on the next thing that you want to do, like your antique shop.
My antique shop. And it's also, I think, not what I want to have or what I want to do. Who do I want to be this year?
Yeah.
Like for me, this whole we haven't told the listener, should we? That's like accountability. I'm starting to jog now every single day.
It's out there.
It's out
there now.
stick to it.
So
Nobody listens
this
to
is
the
part
show
of your
anyway.
personality now.
No, but it's all about, it started with an identity statement
Yep.
of I want to be a fun, healthy person, you know, and to me, being out in nature is fun. The healthy part is the feeling I get after exercise, whatever that exercise is, and I want to continue having that feeling, regardless of how many kilos or how many BMI numbers, anything like that is, to me, I don't even want to measure that because that actually demotivates me. The thing about what I learned about setting goals is also understand yourself. Like reading has always been something I had to do as a business coach. Obviously, I read a book a week, and this is business books and everything. However, I realized nothing was retained because I am an auditory learner. So I switched to audiobooks and I retain everything now. So it's not about reading, it's about going through different books. But if it's not an audiobook, unfortunately, at this point, I don't touch it because I don't retain it anyway, or I read it very slowly.
And that's why it's interesting to understand what the real goal is, because let's say both of you had a reading goal. Yours, I think, is not necessary to learn, but to have time in your evening where you're not doing things with the kids and it's just you and your book
piano.
to escape. Yours was to learn. So it doesn't matter whether you read or not, it's whether you achieve that, and by switching to audio, that works for you, and then you learn. So understanding the real nature of the goal is important, and I think sometimes we're not very good at looking at ourselves, and we need others around us to question, why is that your New Year's resolution? What are you really trying to achieve? So sharing it with others, like your listeners, and having that identity.
We're going to delete that part of the show.
Do not edit it out. I'll be watching for that. Having that identity and that understanding of why you're jogging. You know, you're not jogging because you want to run a marathon or whatever. No. You're jogging because you want to be your fun, healthy, best version, and that's the vehicle that's going to help you achieve that.
Exactly. Well, when I did some work with Tony Robbins and the group, you know, because I attended his master university, he always starts with an identity statement, and mine was fit, foxy female. You know, fit, foxy female. Is that cheekiness? You got the fitness, you got the female, and the funner you make it, fit, foxy female, the 3 Fs. It's gonna stick, right? And I did this like 2000. Gosh, I did this like 7 years ago. And I still remember it because it's just such a funny title.
That is fantastic.
Values are really important, aren't they? Yeah. And I know that you do a lot on purpose and who we are as people, and it's really important. I had a business coach a couple of years ago, and we did a whole couple of weeks on understanding my values, and I realised that adventure was a really important value of mine, and I wasn't doing anything that triggered that or ignited it. And as soon as I did, I went from absolutely being quite bored on weekends to absolutely loving my weekends, which sparked up my motivation for Monday morning coming into work.
Exactly. Understand the reason behind your goals.
Yeah.
We'll be back with more Unividual after this.
Across Bath, Westbury and Warminster, this is Radio Bath.
Welcome back to Brave Business Conversations. We are still with Unividual financial planners. I'm sure lots of people set New Year's resolutions around finance.
Yeah, they do. A lot of people coming through to our website, they say, I haven't got anything specific I want to look at. I want a complete overhaul of my finances to understand where I'm at and where I'm going to be. It's one of the most common inquiries.
It's that natural thing, isn't it? Like it's a fresh, clean slate. New year, new me. The old
New
classic.
Year, new me, new wallet.
The old hashtag
exactly.
meme.
But then we were talking about challenges as well. So what are some of the other challenges that you find, especially maybe around financial resolutions?
One of the biggest challenges is time. You know, generally speaking, we are all, you know, most of us are time poor. We either have radio shows or businesses to run or children to run around after. I think to bring it back to finances, you need to make time. So if you take the simple exercise of just reviewing your spending, simple things you can do, like, you know, maybe you've got just one too many of these apps. You know, maybe I can't name all of them, but you know the ones you can listen to music on or watch TV shows, but you don't actually use them all. Look at that. Look at, you know, are you spending too much on your utilities, things like that. But to go back to time, if you consider it almost your job for an hour or an hour and a half, and think about the amount of money that you save by doing that exercise as being paid, that's one way that you can get over the obstacle of time, potentially.
And it also is very important that when you set New Year's resolutions, you've got to be able to, you come down to the activities you want to do, it has to be clear enough that you can imagine spending time doing it. So, for instance, I want to sort out my finances.
It's too broad.
Is like really weird. You know, how do you time that? But if you say, I want to start having an hour a week to track my expenses, then I want to open an Excel file and I'm going to do this and I'm going to format it this way. And that you can then say, okay, that'll take about an hour and a half, right? Or for me, last time when I was doing a very detailed calculation of my finances, I used to keep every receipt. And this was way before Apple Pay, so it was literal receipts. Even if I bought a box of tissues at the co-op, I would keep it, you know. And then I would go down every week and then just kind of jot it all down. Tissue, 50 pence. I did. And then
that's incredible.
Well, and then I would put that. Oh, is that an entertainment category? Is that daily needs? Is that whatever? And then I realized shopping and entertainment, including dinners out and actually buying, you know, unneeded clothing and everything, just was my biggest chunk. And I said, well, that's probably the easiest one, because it's not like mortgage or rent or anything, food. It's not essential.
Exactly.
I think I think what you do in terms of managing your own finances is phenomenal. Most people don't do that. I would say most of the population in the UK don't do anything. Their wages come in and they spend what they have and it's gone, and then they wait for the next pay packet until they get to a point in their career where they might be earning a bit more and they're starting to accrue surplus, or they just keep spending more. That tends to be what's happened. And I think where we come from is, we don't mind if you don't come to Unividual, but you need to do something with your money because you work so hard. We all get so stressed at work, making sure that we're doing the right thing by our boss or we're running our business in the right way. What is the point of getting that money in your pay packet and then just not doing anything with it or planning it? There's no point working so hard if you're not going to work hard on planning your finances. So the message really needs to be is you need to do something. You either have to do it yourself or you have to outsource it, because if you don't, there's literally no point working so hard to get all the money that you're earning.
But what I do like about the financial planner industry, and I don't know how your packages work and everything like that, but I don't pay a single cent for a financial planner. When I give them the portfolio, right, they do take a percentage of growth every year.
Yeah.
But it's not like I have to pay a monthly fee
No.
for it. Whereas in other industries, you do have to pay a monthly subscription, monthly fee, a monthly service, an hourly charge. It's a completely different thing. So it's like even, you know, when
it's
Simon
a lot
was
more
saying,
affordable than people realise. You know, they don't realise that it is affordable. And we have clients, we have some of our clients are like 18, 19. Some of our clients are in their 20s and earning 30, 35 grand a year. You don't have to be rich and wealthy to have a financial advisor. And we've pushed that message for years now, which is why we've got such an eclectic client bank, which is great. We love that. We love working with different people. And we've managed to model our business in a way where we can afford to do that, because a lot of firms say you have to have at least 100 grand in your bank for us to invest.
I was just going to say, don't be disheartened if you talk to a financial planner and they won't take your portfolio because it's too small. There are financial planners out there that they have a minimum investment.
Right.
Yeah.
And there are others, and I'm not sure how you operate. There are others who are just very open to all
We
different
don't have a
kinds.
minimum. You
Okay.
might have nothing. You might
Yeah.
not, like, even if you have no surplus cash in the bank, there will be things that we can sit down and look at to help you with.
Because at different stages in your sort of life, you need different things. So if I look at a typical client in their, say, 20s or 30s, we're not looking at investing vast sums, but what they want is they want to buy a property. You know, so we talk about mortgages.
Yeah.
You know, they've just taken out a very sizable loan, so we look at the options to protect that. But also, we start to have conversations and build these money habits to say, look, could you afford to put £50, £100 away each month? Look at what that could mean in sort of 25 years' time. So, yeah.
And often the answer is yes, because we spend what we have. So I learned from my dad from a very young age, because he was an advisor, so I was blessed. Put, 10-15% of your earnings away every month. And that's what I did from the very first time. Even when I was working in Sainsbury's, when I was at university part-time, I would always put a certain amount of my earnings away. And we have to remember that we're embedding those habits into people who are in their 20s, 30s, 40s and 50s. And that's a lot harder than having that embedded into you as a child, which is why we come back to the financial literacy and why important that is. Because if we can teach this country's children how to manage their money, that will become natural to them and a lot easier to pick up than when they're in their 40s or 50s.
Exactly. A lot less resistance and a lot less responsibilities when you're 7 than when you're 47, right?
Yeah.
But when we go back to the topic of time,
Yeah.
if my New Year's resolutions was something around financials, what are the things I need to make time for?
I think if you're going to do your own finances, what's coming in and what's going out is really important, because if you can understand what is coming out, you can understand where to make savings or where to have surplus cash that you can spend on things that you want to achieve. So a lot of people think, I don't want to go down seeing a financial advisor because they're just going to make me save loads of money. That's not the case. It's about going, actually, I want to go to New Zealand and I want a special honeymoon, or I want to save for a wedding, or what is it that we're saving for? Or I want to be able to spend more money on my children. So I think the most important thing is carving out time for budgeting and having a look at that. And if that's all you do, which is hard because I don't even do that, but I've got a financial advisor, so they do it for me. Yeah. But if you can just do that one thing, that could be such a huge difference to your monetary situation.
I think you mentioned earlier, Cynthia, about you created your own Excel spreadsheet. There's actually tons available online for budgeting. Greg talked about it last time we were here. A lot of the banking apps now have the ability to show you what you're spending on. So there are facilities out there to do it yourself.
I know we can't name banking app names, which is something I'm normally guilty of forgetting about. But with my bank, I actually can download an Excel spreadsheet of every single transaction that I've taken throughout that month, and it even itemizes it. So it knows all of the top brands. So it will know if I buy something in a clothes shop that comes under clothing. It's a 5-minute job.
I just bought something for the business, and then it says, "So, what category is that? Would you like to upload a picture of the receipt?" I was like, "Yeah." So
it is good. It
beats
is
my
good.
scanning on my printer.
We should perhaps do an article actually on our website of useful apps for money management, because I think that would be quite handy for people.
Definitely.
I think so. We'll be back with more Unividual after this. Wrapping up our first segment with Unividual about New Year's resolutions. So what's the theme here? So what's the lesson that we've learned? Keeping New Year's resolutions, you need to have...
I think you need to have discipline. You need to want to do it. It needs to be fun. I think you definitely brought that factor to the table. You need to understand the real reason behind the resolution, because there's normally an underlying reason why you've chosen to do something. And once you understand that, carving out the time to do the process that's going to help you do them. And just like you would review a business or review your role within your career, reviewing the process of what you're working towards, is it working? So having a little nudge in the diary that says, am I still on track? Am I doing the things that I should be doing?
I think all of those things are the building blocks that make up a habit, really, isn't it? Because once, in the same way that a negative habit you can want to shift, if you create a positive habit, it happens without you even thinking about it. Think about making your bed. You make your bed because if you're a bed maker, you make your bed because that's what you do. It's your habit. And it's the same in your finances as well. If you can build up good financial habits, then they will stick, essentially.
Exactly. It's all about building habits, and if it becomes habitual, then it's really hard to not fulfill your New Year's resolutions, because that's just how you live. It's really hard for you not. I remember the times when I didn't make my bed. It wasn't a thing for me until I had I was living with someone and everything, and he made his bed every our bed, and I just said, you know what? It goes into my identity of I am a neat person. I'm a good house person.
Proud of your house.
I'm proud of. I'm a house proud person. And of course, making the bed is just one of the things. It doesn't take more than 2 minutes to do it. You know, I don't know how big your bed is, but it's just basically
That's the best way to start a day. You start your day off with a task done.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
Yeah.
So how can you make this whole New Year's resolutions, whatever you're planning to achieve or the identity you're trying to live out this year, how can you attach the relevant habits, right?
Yeah,
so
exactly.
For financial things, it could be, you know, and having a habit allows you to carve that time, you know, because you know what you need to be doing.
Yeah, and I think if you can start with something simple. So I wanted to change the way that I was eating, because as you're getting older, you sort of abuse your body for 30, 40 years, and then it starts to get older and you're like, oh my God, all these things are happening to me now. I'm waking up in the morning and my feet are sore. What's that all about? Like, I've not even been on a walk. I've been asleep. So I wanted to change my eating, and instead of going on a diet and losing weight, my focus at the moment is to not eat past 7:30. Then I did really well with that, and my stomach shrunk and I stopped eating as much. And then I was like, right, I'm going to give up caffeine. So I did that. That was easy. And I started to then gain momentum. So now I don't eat dairy. I rarely eat carbs. I don't drink alcohol that much. I don't drink caffeine, and I don't eat after 7:30. And literally over Christmas, I've lost a stone. And that I haven't felt on a diet. I've just changed some very simple habits that's had a physical and mental benefit to me. So very tiny little baby steps, and then you get a taste for achieving them and the success. And then when you start your new habit, you can visualize how good you're going to feel because you've been through that positive experience. Whereas most people set targets and New Year's resolutions and they set them knowing they're going to break them. That's just so negative. You just can't do it in that way.
And then it's so bad for yourself and your self-talk about what you say to yourself.
Yeah.
So if anyone wants to go and create a great financial habit for themselves, no matter what their portfolio looks like now, no matter what age they're on, how do they get in touch with you guys?
So you can find us on the website, which is unividual.co.uk, or you can pick up the phone on 01225 427 474.
Yeah, I'm glad you remember that number because I never remember
Well,
it.
last show I had to ask Greg, so that's why I remembered it this time.
It's just people ring my mobile.
I was just going to say, congratulations, Simon.
That's well done. Yeah, just going to shake your hand. Well done,
great
sir.
habit
well
there.
Done. Yeah.
Memorize 3 digits at a time.
I think if people want to contact us, it definitely, ring us. We'd love to talk. It's the best way. But for you to really feel comfortable about getting in touch with a financial advisor, read the website, take in some information.
So many resources.
Yeah, and we've got hundreds of testimonials on our website. We've got case studies on there. So you can find someone on the case study page. You might think, I'm a business owner. There's one on there for that. You know, I'm legacy planning for my family. There's one on there for that. So definitely head to our website.
Always happy to have you here.
Happy to come.
Yeah, we'll see you every month with Unividual.
For the rest of my life.
There we go.
Wow.
Guess I have to do this
That's
one
a
the rest of my
commitment.
life
I
as
can
well
do
then.
that.
Locally made. This is Radio Bath.